Were you ever that one in a million? If so, what's your story? My university had this brutal attendance policy where missing more than 3 classes meant automatically failing the course. No exceptions. Not for illness, family emergencies, or even if you were literally dying. The policy was especially harsh in my calculus class, which met at 8 a.m. 3 times a week. I had a genetic condition that sometimes caused me to sleep for 16 to 20 hours straight. The episodes were random and medication barely helped. My doctor wrote letters explaining my condition, but Professor Abbott just smiled coldly and said, "Rules are rules. Perhaps you should consider a different university." The thing is, I had a full scholarship that required maintaining a 3.5 GPA. Failing calculus meant losing everything I'd worked for. I couldn't let that happen. One sleepless night, powered by energy drinks and desperation, I went through every university policy document I could find. In the Disability Services Handbook, buried in a footnote on page 47, I found something interesting. Students with documented medical conditions may utilize remote attendance options when such accommodations do not fundamentally alter course requirements. The next morning, I marched into the Disability Services office with my medical records. The coordinator, Nancy, was skeptical but couldn't deny the policy existed. She reluctantly approved my accommodation request. Professor Abbott nearly burst a blood vessel when I handed him the official letter. "This is absurd. How can you participate in calculus remotely?" I pointed to the webcam already mounted in the classroom for recording lectures. "The equipment's already here. I just need to log in when I'm having an episode." He slammed his office door in my face. The next class, I had an episode and couldn't physically make it. I logged in through Zoom exactly at 8 a.m. Professor Abbott pretended I didn't exist. "I don't see Ryan in class today," he announced while taking attendance, despite my face being projected on the classroom screen. I spoke up through the speakers. "Present!" The entire class erupted in laughter. Professor Abbott's face turned purple. "This is disrupting the learning environment," he snapped, reaching for the webcam. "Tampering with approved disability accommodations violates federal law," I said cheerfully. "That carries a minimum $10,000 fine per incident." He froze, hand still extended toward the camera. Word spread quickly. Soon other students with chronic illnesses and disabilities started requesting similar accommodations. By midterm, nearly a quarter of the class had remote access approval. Professor Abbott became obsessed with finding ways to fail me. He'd call on me constantly, hoping to catch me unprepared. But I was always ready, sometimes answering calculus questions while literally in my bed wearing pajamas. One morning, he thought he finally had me. "Ryan, please come to the board and solve this equation." I was remote that day. "I'm happy to solve it, but I can't physically come to the board since I'm attending virtually today." "Then I'll mark you absent," he said triumphantly. "Class participation is required." I shared my screen and solved the problem using a digital whiteboard, walking through each step while my work was projected onto the classroom screen. The class applauded. Professor Abbott escalated to the dean, arguing that my accommodation fundamentally altered the course. The dean, already dealing with a surge of similar requests, called a meeting with all parties. I came prepared with statistics. 23 students had perfect attendance after getting remote access approved. Test scores had improved. Plus, we now had recordings of every lecture, which helped everyone study better. The dean turned to Professor Abbott. "It seems the only thing being fundamentally altered is your outdated notion of what a classroom looks like." By next semester, the university had installed better cameras and microphones in every classroom. They marketed it as a innovative hybrid learning environment. Professor Abbott took early retirement.